Good afternoon, everyone. Happy Tuesday. Time again to go through our Tuesday property planning. I'm excited for today, but before we start today, very important, it's footy tipping time. So if for those of you who are, obviously it's not for everybody, male or female, that's all good. We can do sorry, I'll start again. You see the post below this live post we got today. We've got our footy tipping link. I just asked for some patience there. Apparently that link that takes us to the footy tipping competition, it's a bit spasmodic. So one time it'll work, the next time it won't. You'll see I did put a comment in there as well that just go to the ESPN footy tipping competition and search for the property bloke and you'll find our competition there, worst case scenario. But you will have to join as a member first, of course. But I'll touch base on that at the end as well. But guys, thanks again for watching tonight. Tonight I'm going to go through a bit of the council approval process and where I see some people go wrong and some people that need a little bit of help. That's probably the biggest thing with the council approval process. I deal with council a fair bit. I deal with builders who deal with council a fair bit, and there's certain rules you have to follow that get you to what we call a successful outcome as quick as possible. So guys, before we get started, like usual, if you have any questions, put them in the comments, reach out to us anytime. And Jess, of course, will whack in that 15-minute chat. I had a good chat with someone from last week. He's looking to try and basically make the best use out of the land he has available to himself and his partner. And yeah, just going through a few things over that quick session. So guys, let's get started. I've got about 5 or 6 things to chat about today with the council approval process. But like usual, I try not to let it go any longer than half an hour because I know it can get a bit boring for everyone after that. But I do talk a lot, so bear with me, guys. But feel free to reach out, throw some comments in there, say hello, all good, no problems whatsoever. Okay, the first one, when looking at council approval, before you even get to the council, you want to make sure that you look at the best usage of that land. So what you've got to be careful of is that you don't have a closed mind or a preconceived idea of what you want to do with that land. The best scenario there, for example, is when the vendor said he'd been to council and they can build a duplex or subdivide into 2 blocks or whatever it might be. That vendor might have done that 10 years before. And so you really can't go off what they say. And in some cases, the real estate agent has an opinion, even though they're not allowed to. Sometimes they'll have an opinion on that one as well. So the best thing I always recommend is do your own due diligence. Sorry, struggling to get that one out. And you might remember a couple of weeks ago, I talked about the New South Wales planning portal. Obviously, this is a New South Wales based scenario, but if you go to the New South Wales planning portal, you will see there's a lot of resources. They're all free. And if you're looking at a land or potential subdivision or townhouse development, whatever you're looking for, you'll see what the zoning does, what you can do on the zoning, and what's available there for you. But like everything, don't forget about, I do see a lot of missed opportunities. And what I mean by that is sometimes a lot of people have heard me speak about boundary realignment. And in my view, a lot of the land you'll find, a boundary realignment can make a huge deal of difference off your return on investment. So before you go too far with council or etc., make sure you have a good look around your property. So look at what is being built, look at the neighbouring sites to see if you can take advantage of any of their positions. And whether you buy a backyard, whether you buy a metre of the boundary, sometimes you can make a huge deal of difference to the return on your investment. So the best thing there is when you find when you find an allotment of land, make sure you do all the research. And normally you have to do this pretty quick, especially if it's a good block. You can do 3 townhouses where you can subdivide it into 2 blocks of land, but just keep in mind, you could add another maybe 100 square meters and subdivide that block from 2 blocks of land into 3 blocks of land. And it can be well worth your time. So guys, keep an eye out for that. But that's the first one there, is just working out and calculating correctly what the best use of that land is. Now, to move to the next step from that, the best way, of course, especially if you don't have a lot of experience, is using a private town planner. Now, a lot of people think, call the council, they'll be able to tell me what I can do. Now, most councils are not allowed to give you too much information because they don't want to be seen as Basically, what's the best word of saying that is be favourable towards your certain block of land. So make sure you can call council, see what you can do, but you'll probably get more information out of the planning portal, to be brutally honest. No offence to council members. But that will give you a full overview of what you can do. And then once you know what you can do, take it to a private town planner. A private town planner is your best asset, but obviously you don't want to consistently throw sites at them. They'll just get annoyed with you. But once you know you have a good site and you have a good private town planner in place, within about a week or so, and this will normally cost money, they can tell you what you can do with that block of land. So they may even suggest to you, have you spoken to the neighbours about buying some land off them, or anything along those lines, okay? Especially when you're looking at, say, a boarding house. They're a lot harder to get through council than, say, a duplex or a small townhouse development, because they're outside the normal realm. So best thing, check with the private town planner what you can do. It will cost money, but just say no, you're better off paying, say, $2,000 for a quick review rather than paying, you know, a $50,000 deposit you're not going to get back, and you're buying a block of land you can't do anything with, or what you would like to do it with. And the best thing as well, so if, for example, you're an investor who potentially wants to find sites, put a DA approval, say, for 3 townhouses, 5 townhouses, whatever, and then on sell that block of land without actually doing the construction, more doing the hard work when it comes to the planning side, your private town planner very often can help you resell that as a DA approved. They come into, oh, here we go. I think you lost me there for a minute. You'll have many people who will need just builders, that is, that just wants to get the DA approval done and get it started. So guys, keep that in mind. If you are into just doing sites and the DA approvals and on selling them, get a really good private town planner in place, and they could actually help you sell the lot at the other end as well. So that's the biggest one there. Private town planners, I believe they're undervalued, and they can really make a big difference to your outcome. And now the next one I've got is, say, for example, everyone's done it in the past. You may not need a council approval, so don't go to council or don't prepare plans for council if you don't need it. Under certain zonings, there's certain things you can do to properties that you don't need council approval for. And it might just be that you're buying a block of land, you're going to subdivide it, renovate the front property and maybe add a balcony or a second bedroom or third or fourth bedroom or whatever. And under your guidelines of your local council, you actually do not need to put that through council. Obviously, your bedroom you probably have because it's a habitable space. But if you just wanted to put a deck on or a carport, depending on the size, you may not need to have that go through council. So just be aware of that. A private town planner will definitely help you there. They'll definitely tell you, oh, don't bother with the council with that one. You don't have to. But that one could be where you could call the council and just double check with them if you need to put it through as a full council approval before you do anything to the property. But of course, don't do anything unless you've got the okay in writing. So what I mean by that is, if you do speak to a local council member and they've said, yes, you can build that deck under 50 square meters, you do not need council approval. The biggest thing I'd be saying is, okay, that's fantastic, but please, sir, can you direct me to where on the website it says that, so you can at least print that off, have it as a document, as evidence that you've done your research, just in case you have a problem down the track. You really want to make sure you cover your ass along the whole process, guys. You see it come unstuck. If you don't have it in writing, you don't have it. So make sure you get it in writing, especially I'm a big one on that when it comes to negotiating sites or properties, etc. All right, so the next one is respect the process. This is a big one. This is about respect of the people you're dealing with. So you've got to understand that with the process, each council member, they would get to do with, this is to do with the planning side. I'm probably saying the wrong thing, not council member, council employee. What they'll do is they're going to cop a lot of negativity. You can imagine your job is to ring people to tell them their council plans are not approved, or they need further information, or they've got to make changes. Of course, there's going to be some kickback on them, and it'd be to a certain degree, it could be a negative role, copying a lot of abuse or just negative talk from people. So you've got to have some patience. Let the process happen the way it should happen. Make sure that when you're doing that process, always ask a private town planner, or if you are dealing direct with council, how many weeks should I allow for this? Okay, if they say 4 weeks, see where we go, see where we are at in 4 weeks' time. the biggest thing I'll be telling you is, to a certain degree, forget about it for 4 weeks, move on to your next venture, or spend some more time with your family, or add more to your portfolio. Don't bog down in thinking over the next 2 weeks you're going to hear something, because you're not. You need to respect the process. Now, we get this a lot of the time with banks, where banks would call us for further information. And instead of us getting cranky, even though many times we want to, it's best to just deal with it in a more professional manner. Because say, for example, you're dealing with Newcastle Council as an example, and you want to spend a lot of time in Newcastle Council with a few different properties. If you get someone offside on the council, there's a high chance your development approvals or council approvals, whatever you're putting it through, is not going to go through as quick as what you want. So respect the time frame, have some patience, and just respect who you're dealing with there as well. And the best thing there is, do not micromanage. Do not micromanage the process. So you got to imagine this council person or private certifier, whoever's looking after your site, has no idea what you want. So you have to create a vision. The best applications I've seen is when you have a little bit more of a, would it be, like a document, presentation on what your vision is for the site. So that's not just the plans, it's a physical vision of what you want to achieve out of the site and the outcome that you want to achieve for everyone involved. Now, the council member would appreciate that, because they will see the vision you're putting forward and can understand your planning better. They might just get these plans across their desk. It has to fit the criteria. That's all they care about. But if you put a bit of a story with it, there's a better chance that you're going to understand what you're what your end outcome's trying to be. And a big one, you've got to get the people to believe in your vision and that the outcome you want to achieve. You're going to get a much smoother process doing it that way, and a much higher chance of an approval as well. Because if you just dump your plans in place, you go unprepared, whether you go into a council meeting, if your development's of that size, you want to make sure everyone in that room has a full understanding of what you're trying to portray. And please, when you are putting council plans together, when you are looking at a site, don't try and fit 4 townhouses on a 3 townhouse site. It's just stupid. Make sure that everything you put in place is in and out quick. I love dealing with builders where things don't have to change. Just recently, we've had a client where we've had a few hiccups. We've actually had 2 where we've had to put it back through council a second time. It's just time consuming. We've never really had to do that before. I think that's more brought on with the commissioner looking after all those private certifiers, making sure that they aren't doing the wrong thing. But end of the day, normally we would see those sites come in and out in the normal timeframes. So delays are going to cost you money. Now, time is money. So if you're an investor, especially if you're a professional investor, you want to get in and out of the site as quick as you can. There's nothing worse than when I sit with people and say, listen, I want to buy a site with an old house on it, sit on it for 10 years and then develop it. Why bother doing that? Why sit on this dead site for 10 years? You want to make sure anything that you buy a site with, get in, get out. Don't land bank. Land banking's for the big guys. They're the ones that can take the hit if it doesn't work out down the track. But at the end of the day, get in, get out. You want a fluent process from the beginning right through to the end. And now everyone forgets, you get your council approval at the beginning, but you still got to get your sign off at the other end. So when it comes to getting, whether it's an occupation certificate, whether it's getting your construction certificate to be able to start construction, make sure you follow the rules that the council's put in place. So if the council says you have to buy 5 fancy bushes to chuck in your front garden, make sure you do it. Don't put 4 in, put 5 in, because they're going to pick on it. That's the last thing. They're going to have to regroup and come back for you. When the council approval, the council inspector comes out to sign off on your property, you want to make sure they get in, get out, sign off on it, so you can move on to your next development or your next project. All right, guys, I'm a big one there. Make sure you're fully prepared that the council inspections go to plan, because they're there to find a problem. Sure, they're there for an approval, but they are there to find a problem as well. They're looking for problems. They're looking for things that you've tried to go over. They're looking for things that builders missed. And of course, they're definitely out. If you do, say, a construction, the council inspector or private certifier will inspect your property more than just once, of course, but you want to make sure that everything's organised and your site's clean as well. I'm a massive hater of filthy sites. It's a no H&S issue every day of the week. Alrighty, guys. So biggest thing is, make sure you convey your vision to the counsellor and do everything along the line, the guidelines, you'll get it in and out a lot quicker than what you expected. Now, guys, that's about it. That's all I've got for tonight. That was really quick. I do have a question. So if anyone on here wants to whack a question in, feel free. They can put a question in there anytime you like. Bear with me. Okay, so I had a question here the other day, and I wanted to share it with you guys. And this actually rolls into what we're talking about next week. So next week, we're talking about the stages of construction. So I'm going to go through how you break down each stage and a bit of the cash flow about it as well, so that you understand when you're building a house or whatever you're building, you want to make sure you have all the money aside and don't get caught out where you need cash. When I get to speak to some first-home buyers, for example, that might be building a project home, the biggest thing I say to them is, listen, leave your cash out of it, as much cash out of it as you possibly can, because you might need it at the other end. It could be for a driveway, it could be for a variation, whatever it might be. Your worst case, you get that cash and chuck it back off the loan at the other end. But okay, so the question here is, when building a house, do you have to pay repayments whilst it's being built? So to answer your question, obviously, if you're paying cash for the whole thing, no. But if you're borrowing money to buy your land and build, but we're just going to go, for example, here, a house and land, for example, yes, you've got to have some money put aside to cover those interest costs. So, but the biggest thing you have to know, which I'll talk a lot more about next week, is that you've got the land payment might be, say, so I'll start again. Your house and land package might be 500,000. Your land's 200. Your construction's 300. So what you're in a position of is you're only going to pay interest on how much you owe through each stage. So when you're calculating how much interest you should put aside, which I'll show you how to do that next week, you want to make sure you just have enough to get to the end. The first couple of payments, because you only normally have the slab down and say the frame up, etc., they're not too bad. The most pressured payment, or the most payment you will hate the most, is your final payment. So not your final payment to the builder, your final interest payment before you put tenants in place. That's the most expensive one. And it's at that pinnacle point of stress where your properties come to completion. You want to find a tenant. You've got to do your final inspection with the builder. You've got to make sure everything's, hunky-dory there as well. And then get your tenant in place. So that's probably the pinnacle of stress when building a house and land for investment, is at that last payment, and it's the most expensive interest payment through the process. But guys, I'll talk a lot about that next week. Now, guys, I am just going to quickly discuss here as well that footy tipping. So if you missed at the beginning, we've got the Property Bloke has an annual footy tipping competition. Last year was very all over the place because of COVID, so we didn't really run it really quite well. But this year, I think Steve Lanfranchi won it last year. He won, I think it was $1,000 Red Balloon or Adrenaline voucher. This year we have a $2,000 Adrenaline voucher for the winner of the competition, and it goes right through to the grand final, and it does include State of Origin as well. So if you're a huge NRL fan, make sure you join our footy tipping competition. It's in the post below this live. We do have a post below with a link, but a lot of people are telling me that link's not working fantastic. Sometimes it'll work, sometimes it won't. So the best thing to do is Google up ESPN footy tipping, create an account. You will have to create an account, of course, and just Google in the competitions, the Property Bloke. You'll find us there, and you can join our group from there. I'm pretty sure it did have a password. I'm pretty sure I took that off, but in the event that you do need a password, reach out to us and we can fix that for you as well. The more people in this competition, the better. But please, if you get offended easily, don't join. There will be a bit of banter through the emails, but it's all about a bit of fun and a bit of competition on the NRL. So guys, you'll see here, Jess has the Property Bloke 15-minute call link in place in the comments. So if you do have any questions or just a quick scenario on yourself, just hit the Property Bloke link and pop that, and that goes straight to my calendar, and then we can have a quick chat for 15 minutes. And Jess has actually put in there the footy tipping competition as well. For some people, footy tipping competition means nothing, but to other people, it means a lot. I'm a huge watcher of the NRL. I don't like to miss many games whatsoever. So anyway, guys, thanks again for watching tonight, and I look forward to chatting you again next week. Next week, actually, I've already told you, stages of construction. It's all fantastic. Looking forward to it. I'm Wayne Jessup, bringing you real property, real strategies for real results. I look forward to catching you again next week. See you later, guys.